Thank you. Further tributes, the member from Whitby-Oshawa.
Thank you, Speaker. It's my privilege and honour to acknowledge the life of George Ashe, Member of Provincial Parliament for Durham West. And I'm pleased to recognise many members of George's family and some friends that have joined us in the gallery, with Stephen, his son, Cheryl Hinzel and Aaron Hinzel, my good friend Kevin Ashe, who I've served on regional council with, and his partner Karen O'Brien, Andrea Arkle and Kevin Arkle, Anika Arkle, Eric Hinzel and Matt Hinzel, and Krista Barnsley, His Worship Mayor Dave Ryan from the City of Pickering, my colleague from Regional Council David Pickles, and George's son Brian is watching from his home in North Carolina. I'd be remiss also if I didn't acknowledge Doug Moffat, who was a former Member of Parliament here as well. As Kevin has told me, his father, Mr. Speaker, was not an ostentatious man. He was conservative in nature, very conservative in nature. A man of dedication and purpose. An extremely hard worker, as my colleague indicated earlier in her comments, whose roles in the legislature reflected the character of the man. Speaker, the character of the man. George was always very comfortable as he participated in the business of the legislature, but never felt it necessary to seek the limelight. I read an interview George gave in 1981 after his appointment as Minister of Revenue, and he was so proud of that appointment because he had served as a parliamentary assistant for 3 previous ministers. And it really paralleled, Speaker, what Kevin had told me about his dad. George said that an effective politician is a good listener, an excellent listener, and that's the main thing. Isn't that true? And then of prime importance, the best politicians must never be afraid to admit they don't know everything. They must tell the person this and get out there and find the right answers. George Ashe was a very decent man and never tried to be something that he wasn't. And he played to his strengths. He said, "I've always been known as a hard worker, and I put in a lot of time and effort, and I think this has been well recognized," and it was. And it was in his riding and other parts of Durham region. As well, I've always tried to be available and to assist my associates whenever possible. Predeceased by his wife Margot, who was a key partner in what George accomplished, George passed away peacefully at the village of Taunton Mills in Whitby on August the 3rd, 2014. Mr. Speaker, many of us here could learn a great deal from the character of George Ashe. He believed in helping people who could not help themselves or who have suffered misfortune. And he especially believed, Speaker, in a hand up for those who needed but only lacked an opportunity. Mr. Speaker, all part of his deep humanity and decency, he gave his all to serve his riding and province that he loved. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.